You just learnt before me in terms of the various structures, how we started off in 1889 and then to 2013 when the Grand Mosque in Bradford was opened. And in terms of, this is obviously how we see British mosques as they are now. But what are the aspirations? I went on a journey to find out what British Muslims, young people, would like to see in their mosque, how they'd like their mosque what they'd like their mosque to be. But before we actually go on to the mosques and what the findings were, I think perhaps it's good to have this background, the internal challenges and external challenges that we have between our communities. Internal challenges in terms of diversity, pluralism, all of that exists. And sometimes it's not seen as perhaps the dominant narrative, but it's definitely there. And it's becoming more and more prominent, in certain places and in certain sectors, but still not the dominant voice. And then external challenges in terms of Islamophobia and mosque being the symbolic representation of Muslims in a particular locality kind of attract those Islamophobic sentiments or anti-Muslim hatred. Reasons for lack of engagement. 70% said that actually there were no extracurricular activities that the mosque was providing for. And as a result, they didn't engage with the mosque. They didn't feel that they could engage with the mosque. And then lack of interest in religion was only 20%. So the people were not attending the mosque, young people were not attending the mosque because of other factors rather than lack of engagement in the mosque. And then what youth would like to see in a mosque. Now, these findings are really interesting because the 90% of the 1,000 people who participated in it, they said that they would like to see recreational sports activities. And that's a kind of huge leap in terms of what the mosques are currently providing and what young people would like to see. But then interestingly, about 80% said that they would like their mosque to be involved in interfaith activities, inter-community activities. So that showed the young Muslims would like their mosque to be more than just a place of worship, more than just be a place where they come and listen to sermons and off they go. They want their mosque to take a bit more active role, not just being a symbolic representation of the Muslims in that locality, but actually being an active stakeholder in that neighborhood. And along with that, I think most of us know that 80% said that the sermon, the messages that were coming from those mosques could be a bit more relevant, a bit more pertinent to the issues that the community was facing. And given the time, there were lots of suggestions, about 13 of them. I'll just go through the 4 key suggestions. Overall, they obviously wanted their mosque to be more than just a place of worship. But then the fact that I looked at, 90% said that they would want their mosque to be involved in recreational activities. And the suggestion they had was like fun days, planting trees, outdoor activities. Now, I think here perhaps is a space for us to think whether a mosque itself can do all of those things, or they should partner up with other, like whether it be youth clubs in their neighborhoods, whether it be other stakeholders in their neighborhoods, to provide those facilities for young Muslims. Now, I kind of pressed on this point, whether young Muslims were thinking that they just wanted those things just for Muslims, and is that why they wanted the mosque to be involved? Or they just wanted a place where everyone joined in and everyone did everything. And they wanted, they didn't want those exclusive places, but perhaps they wanted the mosque to be facilitating that. And why would that be? When they could actually go and join their local club, if they wanted to, local youth club, and take part in other outdoor activities, why did they want the mosque to be involved in? And that was partly because of their religiosity or their religious commitment, that they saw that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the Prophet peace be upon him, encouraged social activism. He encouraged people taking part in sports in various ways, and as a result, they wanted the mosque to take a lead on those things so that they could feel that they were fulfilling their religious obligation as well as their social recreational interests. Sermons, they wanted the sermons to be improved, and not people basically. There was some. I've just listed some quotes there. Effectively, they were saying that the sermons in the mosque were not relevant to their current affairs, and they would really want to seek some guidance from their imams on their religious sermons. Then the other key suggestion was the mosque management being representative of what the community was like, rather than just representation of the worshippers. Because obviously worshippers in most mosques tend to be perhaps the elderly, perhaps those who are there 5 times a day, and as a result the mosque committee gets elected or selected amongst the, because of those worshippers. But they wanted the mosque to be a bit more representative, including women, and then the question about women being as trustees or active members of the mosque, or debate about women only led mosques where women are on the management of the mosque. So all of those suggestions were explored, and then finally mentioned about it. 80% said that they wanted the mosque to be a bit more involved in their interfaith activities. So it's very interesting. Just now in Leeds, where my mosque is taking part as part of the Nisa Nashim initiative, where this morning the ladies went to the synagogue and this afternoon they're coming to the mosque. So it's like just and it was really interesting. It was just supposed to be for women in a way, but actually some men were interested to go and visit a synagogue because they'd never been before, and they felt comfortable going with the women to the synagogue. And so it's like having those initiatives which break down barriers. Ultimately, I think what they were looking for was an ideal mosque, which will, cover a lot more than just being just like giving people, like I guess, the religious guidance or just being a place of worship. A bit more an encompassing, dynamic, vibrant institution that was a stakeholder in the neighborhood and led the Muslim community from the front rather than being on the back foot. A recommendation. So in a way, in that study, there's some recommendations. Some for the committee members, the imams, but also for young people. And just here at the bottom, a think tank. I think what the young Muslims also suggested that if mosque or the management of the mosque can't do everything, whether we can have in that neighborhood a think tank of professionals who cannot devote the time and be the managers of a mosque, but what they can be the kind of soundboard people where the ideas can be bounced and against them, and they can also give guidance on that.